What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In today's video I will be telling you guys a few reasons why I think that KOZMOs don't need Twin Twister. So just to tell you guys now, this does not mean that no KOZMO decks should use Twin Twister, or you just can't use it with the deck. This is just me saying reasons why most KOZMO players probably don't use Twin Twister anymore, because like in the previous video where I mentioned why KOZMOs don't use Dark Planet, people started telling me that they're a good card, you can use it if you want, it's an amazing card. So this is not me telling you don't use the card or it's a really bad card. It's just me telling you reasons why people don't use it, because in most KOZMO deck profiles you will see that there won't be a Dark Planet, there'll maybe be 2 Dark Eclipses and a Dark Destroyer. So I was telling you the reasons why that is. So right now I will be telling you guys why in October 2017 KOZMO decks don't really need Twin Twister. So yeah, if you want to use Twin Twister, you can. These are just a few reasons. For example, I used to use Twin Twister for all of my decks and I've stopped now because it's not a must now, if you get what I mean. So first reason being 3 Slip Riders. A Slip Rider is basically an MST but a monster and better with high attack and can be destroyed to special summon a level 4 lower KOZMO. It's just such a good card, and in today's format, like from going to my local Yu-Gi-Oh shop and playing there, I realized that Twin Twister's one of the cards that stays in your hand, and you don't really need it most of the time because most decks are busy using monsters or whatever. For example, I've been playing quite a few Light Sworn decks or Pendulum Magicians. It is good against Pendulum Magicians, but it's not a must. I prefer to go for the offensive rather than the defensive and pop their back row, which surprisingly they don't have much of. It's mainly just good for True Dracos and True Kings right now because of the amount of back row they use. But other than that, it's not really a must against most decks, and it targets 2, and most of the time you only need to target 1 card because the other one's not that important. So usually you can summon Slip Rider to destroy, for example, Brilliant Fusion, which I see quite a lot of, or their field spell like Diagram. So Slip Rider is one of the reasons why you don't need Twin Twister, because there's not a lot of back row. Reason number 2, with KOZMO Town, you've pretty much got an unlimited supply of MST, Mystical Space Typhoon, which is just pop 1 spell card in the field. You can banish or summon this, pop a card they've got. When this gets destroyed, you can banish it, special summon a different KOZMO card, get this back, and then summon it again, and you've got 3 of them. So it's basically unlimited supply of popping back row, and in that case you don't really need Twin Twister. Reason number 3, well, I've already mentioned that it's not good against every deck. Like I have said, that it stays in my hand most of the time, and if they have 1 spell or trap card, it's not worth discarding a card and just popping 1 card with Twin Twister. So you can just choose to side Mystical Space Typhoon, which just pops 1 without cost. But yeah, like for example, I've been using Synchro decks and I've actually versed a Cloudian deck, and it's just using monsters to link summon and everything, and the opponent's mostly using spells. So in the end, without like the opponent using a lot of traps or anything, Twin Twister is not really needed. With the occasional, like I've said, field or back row card that they will set, which is probably going to be like 1, you can just pop it with Slip Rider. Or even if they do set 2, it's not a must that you have to get rid of both of them. Just get rid of 1, and if the second one does do something, it won't do like that big of an effect. Reason number 4, I think I'll just stop saying number. I'll just say next reason. You don't want to top deck Twin Twister. Yeah, it does sound like a stupid reason, but it has happened quite a few times where with KOZMOs, you use all your resources quick to do as much damage as possible. You're constantly banishing a special summoning or activating desires or whatever and drawing cards, setting them like trap cards, like the viruses that you've got. And in the end, you don't want to be drawing Twin Twister because there's nothing you can do with it because it does have a cost. So in cases like that, for example, I use 2 Lure of Darknesses right now, so you can use a 3rd Lure of Darkness, which would be a pretty good top deck. Or you can use Limit Removal, which not most people realize how good Limit Removal actually is. If you have monsters on the field which are machines and you draw Limit Removal, activate Limit Removal, and if they do have a big monster that's destroyed one of your monsters, your monster attack doubles and you can go wreck him. Cosmic Cyclone is a good replacement for Twin Twister, as firstly it doesn't have a discarding cost. It just says pay 1,000 life points. And as I do, I play 2 Forerunners, which is really good for gaining life points again. And it banishes the card. So this is actually pretty good against Cosmos, first of all, because you can banish Cosmo Town. And secondly, it's just better because quite a few spell or trap cards can be used in the graveyard. So if you're just banishing them, it stops the opponent from doing things. So that's why Cosmo Cyclone is a better replacement of Twin Twister. Also, Reasoning is a really good card to use instead of Twin Twisters. One Twin Twister, and you can summon other cards as well. Because if you top deck this, it's most of the time a free monster because you're using level 1 to 9. And if you draw this, there's a very low chance they're going to actually get the right level. So free special summon. So yeah, there are quite a few of the cards that you can play instead. Next reason is discarding 1 card as a cost for Twin Twister is not always helpful. I mean, yeah, when you're using Tin Can, it can be pretty useful. But first of all, Tin Can's already sending 2 cards. So that's 1, 2, 3 extra cards. But unless you're playing Tin Can Turbo, Twin Twister's not going to be a best choice for you anyway, because most of the time you maybe like the other day I was dueling and the worst card in my hand surprisingly was Raigeki, because I could do a really long combo with the other cards I've got, and discarding a Raigeki is not very good because it can become very useful later on in the game when your opponent's got a full board. So in that case, it's okay with Tin Can Turbo, but I don't think it's worth discarding 1 card just to pop 2 sort of trap cards on the field. Next reason is you want cards that help you, and not many people understand what I mean by this, but Twin Twister can be treated as a defensive card rather than an offensive card. So what I mean by that is, in a Cosmo deck, you're already running Raigeki, which is stopping your opponents from doing things by destroying their monsters. So I kind of treat this as an offensive and defensive. Dark Lady is negating your monster effect, so it's like something that stops your opponents from doing something. And I've also got most of these cards, so defensive card by summoning tokens, stopping your opponent by destroying their monster, stopping them with striking them, stopping them by negating their trap, stopping them by banishing the cards, and then adding 3 more cards into your deck that stop your opponent from doing something. I think is a waste, because you're so busy stopping your opponent from doing things that you're using less cards to help yourself to do something. So if I'm drawing this, I'm discarding a card which is affecting me negatively because I've just lost a card, and I'm popping 2 of the opponent's back row. So essentially I've lost 2 cards because this card and something I've discarded. But if I draw Reasoning, I'm helping myself offensively because I can special summon a monster and then attack. So that's what I mean by this is the defensive card. And with Cosmos, you want to use as much offensive cards as possible to attack your opponent and, you know, kill them as fast as possible without using all your resources. And yeah, that's pretty much all the reasons I wanted to cover. So in today's format, you don't really need Twin Twister with Cosmos, and I have been using this Cosmos without Twin Twister, and it just works so much more better because you're drawing so many more better cards. And what I have took out and put in for Twin Twister is the 3 viruses, which have proven to work amazingly in duels. Like with this Eradicate Epidemic Virus, I made the opponent, he drew 3 spell cards every turn, and they just discarded every single time. So having the spell cards destroyed in your opponent's hand is way better than Twin Twister, because if they activate a spell card, you activate Twin Twister and destroy their spell card, but it won't do anything because it's already been activated. But with Epidemic Virus, you're destroying it essentially when they draw it, so they can't do anything with it in the first place. And with the viruses, you're destroying monsters in their hand, and you get to see their hand as well. And as a whole, these 3 cards in replacement for these 3 cards is a lot better in my opinion. So yeah, I think that's all my points covered. Hope you guys enjoyed. Just a few reasons why I think that Cosmo decks don't need Twin Twister. By all means, I'm not saying don't use it. You can use it if you want. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad card. It's a really good card, but just in certain situations, it's not the best. That is with all cards, but I mean in most situations. And after you do already use 3 Sip Riders, Twin Twister is not really needed. Other decks obviously do need it because they don't have cards like Slip Rider, where they can pop cards really easily and recycle the card as well, and then keep popping it. so they need Twin Twister, but with KOZMOs they do have Slip Rider, so that's really good. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for watching. If you want me to make other videos like this where I explain mostly KOZMOs because I use them, why certain decks don't need certain cards, then just leave it in the comments below. But other than that, like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.